Oh, damn. Oh, man. Alright, let's see.
Oh, what is this? Does this offend you? We're going to talk about this in just a second.
What the fuck? Jesus H. Christ, the fallacies just don't stop, do they?
Engineer, a conscious pioneer, a logic general, a reason brigadier. More bullshit from the pulpit. Meet me in the comment section and you get schooled, bitch. The Godless Engineer.
Holy genetic fallacy, Batman! Yeah, that's right. If you don't know who that is pictured in that particular tweet, it is Instagamrr. She's on YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, where the fuck else ever. She's everywhere. I highly suggest you going down below, looking at her channel, checking it out. She's really trying to get to 20,000 people. I know I'm a lot smaller, but I'm sure that some of you guys probably haven't heard of her. So go down below, check her out. She's a gaming channel. I know that some of you guys really like the gaming stuff, so check her out. By the way, recently she posted a video talking about, cleavage in thumbnails and cleavage on game streams and whatnot. And she was talking about how just because she shows cleavage or anything doesn't make her a whore, or doesn't make her any kind of anything as far as selling her body for money. Which is true. I mean, just because there's cleavage in a thumbnail doesn't mean that they're clickbaiting or that they're being a whore.
The problem is when people begin to assume that now every woman is like one of those booth babes or one of those streamers who relies solely on their looks to get by. Or that a girl just putting a picture of herself in the thumbnail, which every major gaming YouTuber does to indicate that there's a face cam in the game, that just because she used a picture of herself and just because her body type happens to be well endowed or she happens to be wearing a shirt that she likes, that all of a sudden she's clickbaiting.
Now, you would be being a whore if you were posting it on like Craigslist and saying, hey boys, come here and get it. That would be a whore. But posting it on a YouTube video as a thumbnail or even showing your cleavage in a YouTube video is not whoring yourself out. If you'll notice in the tweet, Keemstar, told her to dress a certain way in order for him to take her points seriously. Now, the way that she dresses does not have any kind of effect on her actual argument or anything that she says. I mean, she could literally be topless and talking about this stuff, and it would not change the validity of her argument at all.
Whether I look like this or this, I'm still the same exact person. The only thing about this that changed is the shirt I'm wearing. And if your perception of me changed just because I'm wearing a different shirt, I would ask yourself why you feel that way and if that change in perception is really valid or if there's something else that you should be questioning.
This is what is commonly called a genetic fallacy. What he's doing is dismissing her arguments because of where they come from, namely her, a woman on YouTube that likes to show her cleavage or likes to just be herself and not be ashamed of her body or anything like that and feel comfortable to be that on YouTube. He says that because she is like that, that means her argument isn't to be taken seriously or shouldn't be taken seriously, that she has to dress a certain way in order for him to actually listen to her points and for them to be actually valid. That's not true. Of course, in the recent past, I've pointed out some ad hominem or possible genetic fallacies, posed by like Atheist Rue or, atheism is unstoppable and whatnot. If you're actually going to go and dismiss a person just because of who they are, I run into this a lot with Richard Carrier. People like to dismiss him just because he's Richard Carrier. I don't give a fuck if he's Richard Carrier. He makes solid points and he's got solid evidence to back up his shit when concerning Jesus existing. His feminism stuff, I disagree with him a lot on that, but that's not for this video. This fallacy is a misdirect type of fallacy, or a red herring. Other red herrings would include ad hominems and others of the like. Now, there are a couple of fallacies that are directly related to this, either on the opposite end or on a similar end or whatnot. So I thought it would be a good idea to kind of go through these and see how they actually relate. Because these misdirect fallacies are actually meant to shift your attention away from the actual arguments being had or being presented, because most likely the person that's doing the misdirecting actually doesn't have an argument. Their evidence, or their arguments are baseless. They don't have any evidence for it, and what they want to do is either distract the person making counter arguments, or they're wanting to distract the audience that is watching. On the polar opposite end of it is the argument from authority. Now, the argument from authority usually occurs when somebody is taking somebody else that has certain degrees or is held in some kind of regard, and is saying that because that person holds this certain belief, that means it's true. That's just patently false. The reason why you should agree with somebody that has these degrees or whatnot should be because he is that person or he has these degrees. It should be because they have evidence to support it, and you understand their evidence, and their evidence is sound and valid. In the genetic fallacy, you're dismissing a person because of who they are. You totally dismiss them. You don't take their argument seriously, or you just initially label them invalid. Whereas this one, you're automatically agreeing with a person and presenting them just that person holding that belief as it being enough to make it valid. Now, I would like to specify that there is a validating way to use this argument. And I've already briefly covered that. It's to rely on the evidence that they present and not the actual person that uses it. See, that's where it actually becomes like portable, if you will. Like they have used their expertise to present this evidence in a coherent manner to where you can understand it and you can present it to others. That's what portable means. It means that you can take their stuff and you understand it enough to use it and explain it to others. So it should be quite literally the evidence that is used to support it, not just because the other person is who they are, but it's because of the evidence that they use. And when you cite a person as being the one that presents this evidence or whatnot, that is to direct a person to the collection of evidence rather than to say, hey, because this person said it, that makes it true. It's, no, here's where I got the information from. Go and check it out yourself. Now, another similar fallacy would be the argumentum ad populum. This is when you take a consensus of some sort and you say that because a lot of people believe it, that means it's true. Normally, Christians like to throw this at us when they're talking about how many people they have in their particular belief. I mean, honestly, I don't care if all the Christians in the world believe that Jesus was sucking on Judas's dick and he'll only spit when you ask him to. It doesn't make it true. Now, some may cry bandwagon, which is an alternate name for this particular fallacy. Some may call bandwagon when you're using this in regards to scientific consensus, but scientific consensus is a bit different than a regular kind of consensus, because see, with scientific consensus, it's based on evidence and facts and whatnot, and also more importantly, it should always be considered tentative and subject to change. So if you have evidence that goes against the consensus, that challenges it, then what you do is you present it, and then if it can change it, if yours is more valid or your evidence is better, then that consensus will change. See, that's the good thing about the scientific community, is that we're very amicable to change. And so that has, this particular process has been used throughout the history of science. So we know that it works. We know that scientific consensus changes. And when you use, when you use scientific consensus to argue a point, it shouldn't focus on, the fact that all the scientists believe it. It should be the fact that currently, right now, in the present state, this is a scientific consensus. This is what the evidence shows us. And so by doing that, you're using evidence to say, well, here's what the evidence shows right now. And then what you have to do is you have to try to take the most unbiased look you can at this new evidence that comes in and see how the existing evidence holds up to the new evidence. Sometimes the new evidence won't hold up, won't hold water or anything with when compared to the old evidence, and it remains a consensus. But oftentimes the new evidence actually overcomes the current evidence, and it becomes the new consensus. So it's a lot different than saying, well, everybody believes it, it must be true. Thank you for joining me on this Fallacy Friday. Please go down below, hit the like button if you like this particular type of fallacy video. Also, if this is your first time here, subscribe, motherfucker. And don't forget to join me later this month at ApostaCon. If you are watching this after September 18th, I feel so very sorry for you because you didn't get a chance to get any kind of swag from the event. And as always, question everything.